Once more into the Earth Cave. Let's see just how far into it we can manage to get this time. Hope nobody minds the random pauses as I'm wandering around. I'm constantly checking an online map or where I should go from here. This dungeon is just a bit too large for me to just randomly wander around. And I don't trust myself to remember where I've gone when we've got random encounters at random intervals to throw me off. There is literally nothing to indicate how far we might be from the next fight, which, yeah, is part of the point behind random encounters. They are random in both what you fight and when. And while there are only so many possibilities of what you'll fight against in a given dungeon or section of the world map, it's still impossible to be 100% certain of what's coming next. And considering how annoying the frequency for random encounters can be, I'm not all that surprised that role players have tried to get away from that mechanic from the PS2 era onwards to varying degrees. Well, there's the way further down, but I think looking at the map I just realized there are items for us to grab on this floor, so let's not move on quite so fast. I suppose that's a little immersion-breaking instinct in games, really. Someone actually going through an adventure like this would be very inclined to finish things as quickly as possible to avoid the sheer amount of exhaustion, and of course save the world all that much faster. But in a game, they aren't going to give a damn about any sense of urgency for saving the world unless there is a very outright timer on screen. And while they're going to pay attention to how many spells the mages cast and how much health their characters have left, exhaustion isn't really something you think about. The players are just gonna keep on flinging themselves into one fight after another without much concern. So really, why not keep fighting and exploring a dungeon to grab all the little items that are scattered inside of it? It's just one of those random thoughts that came to mind as we're moving here and I had the chance to just get to the next floor and chose not to just yet. And yet another Earth Elemental. Pretty sure these things are supposed to be considered a reasonably large threat to us at this point. Sort of like how ogres were right as the game started. But then I didn't feel all that much fear about ogres in this game once I realized just how frequent they were gonna be. They just made me groan a bit at how many potions I'm gonna have to spend after fighting one of them. Not give me a sense that we're in major danger. I probably should have brought more potions considering how I've been using them here, but nothing I can do about that now. Huh. I was expecting another Earth Elemental. Are the two Minotaurs a hell of a lot less dangerous than a single Earth Elemental? Hell, do Earth Elementals count as mini-bosses? Okay, there was nothing but money in this room. I'm sure we'll appreciate that later on, but it's not like we were allowed to buy the magic spells in Melmond when we were in town last time. And about the only thing we'd be likely to buy from earlier towns would be potions, since it's not like we found any stores that sell high potions just yet. Yeah, definitely burning through potions at a pretty fast rate here. A lot faster than I was expecting. Six enemies. That's a good excuse to use Vera, but I just don't respect these guys enough to bother sending that spell, since I'm pretty sure they're very fragile and not incredibly likely to poison us. I mean, sure, it doesn't make that much sense when I say spiders aren't gonna poison us, but hey, I'm coming with my gut in this game. And just as I finish saying that, I get poisoned. Ugh, son of a bitch, I suppose it had to happen sometime, and I just taunted fate. Kinda funny that it happened against enemies that I thought were less likely to poison us than the monsters I've been slamming with fear spells left and right. Ah well, we've got plenty of antidotes, and I suppose every bit of experience and money helps. Those poor Minotaurs didn't even get a chance to throw a single attack there. Why do I feel sorry for the two humanoid bull monsters that were probably going to try to kill us? All the others have, after all, and it's not like we have ever have the option to negotiate with any of the people and beasts that attack us in this kind of game. A coral sword, huh? Gives us 5 more points in accuracy, but 1 less in damage. And it's super effective against water-based enemies for some reason. Why did we get an item like that in the Earth Caves instead of the Water Caves later on? I'm pretty sure we'd be a lot more likely to run into water-based monsters in the water-based caves than here. And that's not even getting into the fact that making a sword out of the materials available in a coral reef probably wouldn't be especially sturdy. But then the attack and accuracy properties of all the weapons in this game are pretty arbitrary, just like they are in a vast majority of games. Okay, so we're running into undead this far in. That's a good sign that we're getting close to the vampire, if nothing else. So, Boromir was the only one poisoned earlier, and is the only one temporarily paralyzed here. I know he's got the most health points and armor, and we want him to take the hit so the more fragile members of the team don't have to, but still, it's gonna suck being the most attractive target to hit around here, unless you're an explicit masochist. I was starting to get nervous considering how long it'd been since our previous random encounter. It's funny how the moments where we aren't getting jumped by monsters are somehow more harrowing than the moments when they're all over us. Another Earth Elemental down! Part of me wants to wonder if what we're doing is actually killing those Earth Elementals, or if we're just temporarily convincing a local spirit to stop attacking us. It's a little harder to tell with an elemental compared to a wolf, spider, or zombie if we're killing them. Or at least that's the case in my imagination. It's not like the game does anything to differentiate one type of enemy dying over another. At most, you just see explicit bosses dissolve slower than the regular enemies we run into. Yeah, Tyson is definitely gonna get a potion when this fight is done. And does anyone else find it funny that I've been using more offensive magic from the White Mage than healing magic, when healing is the single most important thing that a White Mage does? Yet another Earth Elemental, just as we were about to open a chest. Seriously, What is it about these chests that makes the local spirits guard them so firmly? These things, for the most part, have had money or replenishable items that we could potentially buy in a store. And while I would understand a leprechaun or dragon being very protective of their belongings, that's not really something I think of when it comes to earth elementals. Definitely a good amount of cash from that chest. We probably won't have any money troubles for a while once we're done here, though I might end up eating those words when we get to whatever town comes after Melmond. There's definitely a pattern that we run into earth elementals when we're looting chests, but it just doesn't feel like it's in any way discouraging us from when we go after those chests. Hell, I don't think it'd be all that discouraging if I had to explicitly pull back from the Earth Cave again and buy more potions before making another push towards the boss. If anything, that would be a good excuse for us to gain more experience points as we get ready for the next actual challenge. Assuming it will be a challenge when we finally get to it, with the unintentional but not unwelcome grinding I've been doing here. Considering how much I like using the melee attacks in this game, maybe it would have been better if I went with a warrior, rogue, monk, and red mage as my team. It's not like I've been using all that magic from both our spellcasters all that much anyway. But I suppose it's fair to have someone absolutely dedicated to black magic when we absolutely need to pour the mystical hurt on, and someone absolutely dedicated to white magic when we're getting absolutely mangled. It's just a little tough to remember that when you're going through so many standard encounters where magic isn't absolutely necessary. Well, we're pretty close to the vampire now. Time to brace myself for the next major boss fight. It's been quite a while since we fought against Garland, hasn't it? This, coming from a being that's supposedly immortal. Well, I guess we're gonna be proving him right as we take him down then, but not the way he hoped. We're not trying to alter destiny, we're trying to follow it. After all, we're supposedly the destined saviors of this world. And you don't even have an individual name in our story. We'll start off with Morn doing some offense against this guy. And I'm going to assume, since he's undead, that he's not going to appreciate being set on fire either. Not a very effective gaze, I'm afraid. I'm not gonna bother asking if that was supposed to be seductive or scary gaze, considering it did nothing to us, and really? You think that small little healing factor is gonna mean anything when you're taking so many hits that are much higher numbers? Oh, good God. The boss was killed before I was even done taunting him. I was really expecting that to go another minute or two. Guess we're just making the next bit of major progress now. We just gained another key item, which needs us to deliver it to a very specific spot, to a very specific creature to keep making more progress. And while someone in town mentioned that rock monster that loves to eat these sort of things. It's not like we've met that rock monster. So, yeah, definitely pulling out the map again. And unfortunately, there's a section of the Earth Cave that we can't get to just yet without grabbing what we're going to need by going to that rock monster and then moving past it. So despite the fact that we're most definitely making some good progress here, unfortunately, we're not going to be done with the Earth Cave in this clip, and we'll have to come back to it later. I can't really find it in me to be all that annoyed that we'll have to come back later, though. Again, this is a damn old game with some damn old limitations put into it. I'm sure a good part of the reason why things are designed the way they are here is because of space limits at the time the original was thought up. And again, the things that the PSP version decided to add to the overall experience, the extra dungeons and such, I just do not like, and we'll skip over them altogether. Again, the biggest thing I prefer in the PSP version of the game over all the others is the MP magical system. Anyway, this is about as far as we can get into this dungeon at this point. Time for us to pull back. It's gonna be a long trek out of the dungeon from here, but hey, Morn's still got plenty of MP. Healing as we pull out with little resources is exactly why I didn't use Morn's cure spells on the way down in the first place. Okay, so Cure deals with 39 hit points. That's a bit of an annoying number. I'd prefer a multiple of 10, or at least a multiple of 5, to make it easier to do the math in my head, if I can do it without essentially trying to cure more health than someone actually has, to be more efficient. I'm trying to remember if any of the other werewolves managed to poison anyone in our team before now, but we've dealt with so many over the course of these 14 clips that it's hard to really keep track of, and it's not helped by the fact that the wargs and standard wolves are literally just palette swaps that we've been fighting for a massive chunk of the game. All three of them. It all just blurs together, where I can't even remember the difference between wargs and the others. I should have used magic against the Ogre Chieftains. If Chieftain is even the right word to use for them at this point now. When I think of a Chieftain, I think of an authority figure of some kind. When the entire enemy group is nothing but Chieftains, I don't think any of them are really in charge here. Granted, it's not like this game is going to show any kind of goblin or ogre villages. Their societies apparently don't matter at all as we save the world. They're just generic hostiles, just like the wolves, snakes, and spiders. Okay, really starting to get the feeling that Boromir is just more vulnerable to status effects than anyone else. He's been paralyzed, poisoned, and now completely stoned. Tyson's been poisoned as well a few times over the course of the game. The occasional bit of paralysis, but the two mages on our team, I don't think they've had any status effects as far as I'm aware. Is it because they're immune to such status effects? Or is it just the fact that they've been taking a lot fewer hits than our physical fighters, so they aren't testing their luck as much? Well, there's certainly more snakes than I'm comfortable dealing with. Not that we've got much of a choice in the matter. I mean, sure, there's always the choice to run away when you aren't dealing with bosses, but hey, we're still in good enough shape that we don't have to run away from absolutely every enemy. It's probably just the fact that I've been fast-forwarding, but it feels like we're dealing with more enemies on the way out than we did on the way in. And I'm sure that's gonna feel just as annoying when we have to come back to the Earth Cave to clear out what's left of the problems here. Well, at least we're close to the exit from the dungeon now. It's not gonna be the end of the cliff, though, so it's not that much of a relief to me right this second. Literally just one square away from the stairs out and we have another fight. And there, we're out of the Earth Cave for now. Really wish we were done with it completely, but that's just asking for too much at the moment. We need to settle for the fact that we've made some progress here, and we need to go to a completely different location in order to be allowed to make even more progress in the Earth Cave. Huh. 3 members of the team paralyzed at once. Well, there goes my theory that mages can't end up screwed by sinus effects. Thankfully, we didn't need Morn healing everyone that second, but still, that kind of woke me up a bit. Part of me is a bit tempted to fall back to the town to rest and recover our MP, but we'll save that for when I'm prepping to go back into the Earth Cave. I'm pretty sure that spending the rupee we gained down there isn't going to be anywhere near as tiring as going down several floors of monster-infested hell. Though I suppose that's not the best way to look at things here. The world map is certainly pretty monster-infested after all. Okay, pretty sure those are more dangerous than any other recurring enemies we've come across so far. Oh yeah, they're doing a good amount of damage to Boromir despite the sheer amount of armor he's got. If these are the lesser tigers, what are the other tigers we're gonna have to deal with later on gonna be like? Greater tigers? Mystical tigers? Tigers in the sheets? I know it's going to have some palette swaps later on. I just want some hint of what to expect from them, aside from the more generalized extra health and harsher bites. Well, here you go. Though considering what our obstacle was here, I can't help wondering if they should have just given us the option to just fight our way through this big guy. I know, that's asking for too much from a game this old, giving us multiple options to get through a single obstacle. Still, the thought occurred to me and I didn't see much reason to avoid saying it altogether. Well, the big guy has completely ceased to exist in this world now that he's eaten that key item. Not that we're ever gonna go back to see Montoya at any point in the game, or that there's really any point in seeing the pirate captain or the king of Cornelia again, but still, it would have been nice for him to still exist in some form. Again, this game just does not do much in terms of storytelling compared to more modern games, but it has all that it absolutely strictly needs. Really? Only one tiger? That kind of feels insulting since the first encounter with tigers was 4 of them at once. literally just 1 pixel from opening that door. Sure, it's not a dangerous encounter that started there, but still, annoying timing. Ah, well, there's not much chance I'll lose track of where I'm going since this cave system is a good deal smaller than the Earth caves. Not much of a damage increase, and we lose a decent amount of accuracy, but somehow that kind of feels worth it to me, if only because, yeah, I kind of like having things that aren't just strictly swords. While I'm at it, I was kind of expecting a helmet made of mithril to be more of an upgrade, but then that's because Lord of the Rings did a good job of hyping up how amazing that material is. It is just going to be a constant issue in these role-player games where mithril is a thing, that somehow it's not the single most effective metal on the planet. It would be like if I saw the word adamantium. I'd think, oh, this must be something absolutely astounding. And then it turns out to be something that's kind of in the middle of the road in terms of effectiveness in that given game. And I'm just stumbling a bit. Another bunch of wargs. Just how long in this game have we been running into wargs anyway? Because I can't help feeling that we should have been finished with that enemy type this far into the game. Anyway, I probably said this earlier in the clip, but it looks like this one is going to have an abrupt ending. Thankfully, we've made a good amount of progress in this clip, and I'm assuming we'll see a good amount of progress in the next one as well.